Hi everyone, my name's Ash and welcome to Lenovo Tech Talks. Today I'm going to be talking about a process that our commercial customers have been using for years and it can still be a useful tool, and that is persona profiling. Quite simply, the process of rationalising a huge range of possible end-user compute devices into just a handful of options that will satisfy the various needs of the workforce. I'm going to switch into my presentation mode to explain further. Thankfully, leveraging modern IT tools such as Autopilot and Intune means it's much easier to manage a mixed estate these days. That said, having a wide range of devices in your estate can be a real headache for a number of reasons. Support, servicing and device envy, these are all commonplace demons IT admins have to deal with. Unlike the old days where when you started a job you were handed a laptop and that was that, we now know that there are clear benefits, of course, for assigning the right device for that specific role to get the job well done. Persona profiling analyses the roles within a company and logically aligns that function with one of, say, half a dozen choices. It's nothing personal, it's logical, and it's easy to say to that awkward person in HR that actually they're not getting a 64 gig workstation because their job function is actually aligned to a more sensible device. In its full capacity, a persona and profile based personalization framework can actually be quite a complicated and powerful tool. I'm explaining it at its most simple level today. I'm not saying this is the de facto way of doing it. I'm not even saying this is the Lenovo way of doing it. I'm just saying why not make it as simple as possible, because the end result will probably end up being the same. An interesting but not strictly necessary stage when deciding on just end user hardware is to categorise everyone in the org who uses IT as one of a number of abstract types. I've got three classic worker types here. The data entry worker tends to be on the administrative side and requires simple, fast and reliable access to their information systems. The structured task worker represents about 80% of the users in most organisations and can appear in a huge range of functional job roles such as sales, HR, finance and so on. And last is the knowledge worker, who generally requires a device with more performance and flexibility as they're creating and transforming data. The worker type is one of four vectors to categorise. Here we can look at functional job roles at a much more granular level. An executive, for example, may have a generic workflow just using Office 365 and cloud apps, but of course image is very, very important to the execs and you can't just give them the most basic chunky laptop. They're often very mobile as well, so a lightweight system with a good battery is also important. Here are the pigeonholes we need to assign the functional job roles to. These are the classic 5. Some organisations will have just 3, some have 8 or 9. But just remember that the more you have, the less point there is going through the whole process in the first place. Hybrid working has of course shifted these roles somewhat over the last couple of years, but they're still relevant today. Desk-based staff, something like 75% of the time they spend at their desk. They usually need a static system with a reliable, responsive, stress-free surrounding. Corridor warriors spend more time away from their desk in meetings or various work locations. They need lightweight systems and simple docking solutions. Remote workers, usually home workers, but it could be based elsewhere, they need great connectivity and immersive video conferencing. And they're mostly mobile. For example, face-to-face sales. They would require a lightweight device and a long battery life and probably 4 or 5G connectivity. Now, the most difficult to assign, and it can be a bit of a catch-all, is specific needs. This could be a software developer, researcher, designer, someone who needs a special tool to get their job done, such as a high-end performance workstation. Now, the next stage is looking at the suitability of the products available to you, and we can help you with this. What features do those products have, and how important are those features to the various personas you've set out? Now, here I've shown just a core subsection of our mobile range. It's not really complete. I don't have all of our workstations, I don't have our desktops, but it gives you an idea. A mobile worker, for instance, really wants a lightweight system, but of course that's not so important to a desk worker. An electronic privacy filter, again, could be important to a mobile worker, but not the remote worker who's sat at home, and so on. And then the last stage is to cross-reference the data you have to pick the most suitable products and assign them to your personas. I put some example specs together here. So a corridor warrior might be best suited to our T14S or X13 Yoga or X1 Carbon. These are just suggestions because, of course, the whole exercise is a big generalization of a fictitious organization in this case. Price is another dynamic to consider, but I believe it's really important to work out the most suitable products first before looking at the pricing. It's easier to wind back the specs after you've picked the most relevant devices than it is to be worrying about budget at the start of a project. Here you can see I've got 3 options for each persona to give a little bit of flexibility and price. Well, that was an extremely quick, extremely basic look at profiling for end user devices. There is so much more to this that is way out of scope of a quick YouTube video. So if you're going through this process currently, or if you're considering using it for a future deployment, we would love to help you. Please get in touch with your Lenovo account manager and we'll do all we can to assist you with the process. Thanks for your time, and please don't forget to subscribe to see more Lenovo Tech Talk videos. Thank you very much.